Hey everybody. Hey Matt.
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
Yeah, good. Welcome to another episode of Honest to Pod with me, Ashley McAllister.
And me, Matthew Ali.
And yeah, let's just jump right in this week because we were both off parading and everything in this weekend and we're a day late. It's now nearly 10:30 and I'm tired because I'm still hungover.
I do want to clear this up though for 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Because two people had said to me, Matthew, why isn't the podcast up yet? And because you'd posted we were priding, I was ready to go Sunday night and I was just away for the weekend, but I was fully prepared. It was purely Ashley who was unavailable to record and get some time. So just to be clear, it's not both of our faults, it is Ashley's fault. And he got to stop including me in this. Okay?
So, wait a minute. You weren't parading.
I was away for the weekend for sure.
Why are you homophobic?
Why am I homophobic?
Yeah.
Honestly, we went to this place, right? So we were in Antwerp. I thought it was Pride in Antwerp because I'd like rainbow flags everywhere. And we were walking around looking for someone to go for a drink and stuff. And we were just going around the town. And then brother was like, oh, we need to go into this place. So we walk in, we sit down, we get a drink. The drink is awful. No one's really in there. It's a proper old man pub. Okay, we get the drinks. I was like, I need to go to the toilet. I need to go to the toilet straight away. So I go to the toilet and there's like a poster in front of me. And I was like, this looks kind of funny. So I walk out and there's these two other massive posters, both with like Islamic hate on it. So I walked through to the guys. I'm like, I think this is a white supremacist pub. They were like, no. And what I didn't mention is as I walked in, there was this big old Trump and Pence, like, make America great again. And there was basically like this propaganda everywhere. And as we were looking around, one of my friends looked online for like what it was all in another language, it was all in Flemish or something else. We were in a white supremacist pub.
Well, like, you're black.
I know they served us as well.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say because I'm like, well, I'm glad they served you, but also,
I think I'm homophobic.
are you now homophobic?
Maybe I always was. Who knows?
Maybe.
But that was the answer to your question. So obviously, I like to frequent. I don't know these. What would you call it? Conservative. It's more than conservative. Far right.
Nazi?
There was Nazi memorabilia on the wall.
Here, listen. Why not just come out and come clean? This is actually not a gay podcast. This is a pro-Nazi.
Oh my god!
I can't even keep a straight face when I say that.
We said it to our fans. You didn't know what you were doing.
we've converted you all.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh,
yeah, but I was not proud.
Well, I was proud and I was very proud. I was in Belfast Pride this week, which I did put on my Instagram that I do think it's one of the few Pride events in Britain where it's actually still very political. Yeah, because here in Northern Ireland, we don't have as many rights as people in the mainland. Like, we don't have equal marriage or anything like that yet.
Mm.
And I've explained to you before, like, the Sinn Féin versus DUP going on, and Sinn Féin are very pro-LGBT, and we were actually walking right in front of the Sinn Féin party.
That's cool.
But the DUP part, we're with the Aslans, the Belfast...
yeah. Of course.
Rugby team. The Sinn Féin Irish Party was behind us, and for better or for worse, some people disagree about whatever, but I think it was great that they showed up in numbers. Like, all of them were there, proudly holding the banner. But it was a good event. So I was staying with our friend John, and his family, and there's so much alcohol, and I'm still hungover. I haven't really stopped drinking.
I didn't know you were staying until Monday. So it was from Friday to Monday, or did you go on Saturday?
I went down Friday. We were out Friday night. Well, we didn't know. We stayed in Friday night and had a couple of drinks around the fire thing in the back garden. So we had drinks around that. We were supposed to go into town, but we decided not to because the people were meeting, their flight was delayed. So anyway. And then Saturday, we got up early, had the parade, which was really nice. John's mum and brother and his brother's girlfriend all came to the parade as well. It was a really fun day. Then we stayed out drinking. We did a bit of a pub tour around Belfast. It was sort of like, it was busy. It wasn't busy enough that you're waiting like ages to get served in the pubs because there's just so many pubs. But it was still busy to have a really good atmosphere and a really good time. So
were they celebrating Pride as well, or were there like gay bars and stuff there?
It was sort of like it was busy because it was Pride. Like, everywhere you went, there was rainbows, and it was really a lot of fun. But I wouldn't say it's sort of like we noticed with the parade. You know, in London when they have the parade. It's sort of like people come into town for the parade and everything's closed off. And I'd say similar in Belfast, but I would say most of the crowds, or no, I don't know. I'd say probably about 40%, 50% of the crowd, they just happened to be in town shopping and decided to stop and watch the parade.
I find that so bizarre that happens to people. And even in London, some people I was talking to, they'd be like, oh, I was just in London and then it just happened to be Pride. And I'm like, it's plastered everywhere. Like, do you not feel like everyone, even in there, because the streets are closed?
Yeah, well, they closed streets here once the parade kicked off, but yeah. Anyway, it was a good day. And then Sunday, I was supposed to come on Sunday, but then John's mum cooked a incredible feast, and then other members of the family came around and some friends of the family, and yeah, and then John, me, and his mum just ended up. I got pretty drunk again, drinking whiskey in front of the fire, and then Saturday or Monday we just had a very lazy day, very very lazy day, and then I came up and had some more alcohol when I got home. And
what if it was gluten free?
The food, the
entire weekend?
Yes, everything was gluten free.
Amazing.
Yeah.
On purpose, or like it just happened? They just didn't eat much gluten.
I've stayed there a few times. They've probably had to listen to me reject lots of food in the past.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is next year, I think we should get more people over for Belfast Pride and make a bit more of a thing of it.
I'd be so down. I would have done that over Brighton Pride. Like, fuck Brittany. Honestly, I don't understand why everyone's so hype over that.
Anyway, shall we? Yeah. So I was saying next year, do a big thing about it. Get loads of people there.
Well, I'd be down to go for sure. I'd absolutely love to do it.
Sweet. Cool. Well, anyway, let's get on with the podcast.
So, do you want to speak today?
I will go first. Do I sound okay? I think last week I sounded a bit robotic.
What, your voice?
Yeah. When I played it back, it sounded very... A lot of people commented that I sounded auto-tuned.
Someone else said that. I don't. To me, it sounds fine.
Well, maybe we were channeling Cher because Mamma Mia 2's out. And
that was so good. We should start singing like our intro, so the auto-tune would help, because it'd be like honest to parenthood or something like that, Do that, do that, do. No.
Honest to part.
You spent too much time in Belfast and Northern Ireland, because no.
Is that not?
In the church.
I was doing my best Beyonce Ave Maria.
You need to be like, runs. You need to do the runs.
I think I nailed it. Let's move on. So this week I have pages printed because...
I can see there's a lot of paper there.
Only because I'm so tired and I want to keep track. So what I want to talk about this week, and I have to say, once I pulled this article out, I sort of misread it, and I did this sort of research, and then it turns out what I thought it was saying is slightly incorrect, but I'll read it anyway. It's a small detail. I misread what he was, but I'll start anyway. So this is something I read in Pink News, and it's talking about American politics, so let's get excited about that for a start. And it's basically saying that the only Republican candidate for Missouri seat said that homosexuality kills more people than smoking. It has been revealed. So essentially, this is a guy who's called, or get this for a name, Hardy Billington. He sounds like a villain from a Shrek film. So in this district, 80%. What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to make a little live feed and say they're actually recording.
Oh,
live feed.
Oh, is that?
Well, I'm going to make a little live feed and say they're actually recording.
Wow.
Anyway, carry on. Well, I'm going to make a little live feed and say they're actually recording. Let's. I don't know how to stop this now.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm really bad.
What's? All right. Okay. So in this area, basically, shall we just pause this?
No, I'm good. I'm listening.
But essentially, what I was getting confused about was that he had basically said that more people will die from gay sex than smoking. He had said it. I thought it was a recent saying, but it's basically the article I read was just highlighting that a person is running for office and he had previously said this. I thought he had said it recently. And he basically had hired out or rented some ad space in a publication called the Daily American Republic. In this, he ran an article that said, study after study reveals that homosexuality, whether male or female, can take anywhere from 10, 20 to 30 years off someone's lifespan. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it wrong.
The gay thing?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's not that it takes it off your lives. It's that gays or lesbians will say that they are 10 to 20 to 30 years younger than they actually are.
Oh, okay. Like you did.
I'm 21. And
oh, sorry.
I will be 21 for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's what he misunderstood what he heard when the gays were like, I'm 25. We know that means they're 55, but he doesn't know that. That's why.
Well, he then goes on to say, with all the attention on smoking, which the National Cancer Institute says takes 7 to 10 years off somebody's life, why not the same human outcry on homosexuality? Here's a behaviour that kills people 2 to 3 times the rate of smoking, yet nobody seems to care. In fact, we are encouraging and affirming individuals into the gay lifestyle. If you truly love someone, you would steer them away from the self-destructive behaviours rather than towards it. Homosexuals need our tough love, not blind love, and the kind of love that is going to love them no matter what they say and do. We must extend that helping hand and say, I think you're worth saving. Let's work on it together. So, I mean, he says study after study, but I mean, there is no evidence for it. What I did find is evidence against it. So,
was it in response to this article or something you just found as you were searching around?
Something which I would like to say I found, but actually when I was talking, somebody shared it with me anyway.
Okay.
So the top 10 leading causes of death by age group are actually, the top 3 are basically unintentional injury, malignant neoplasms.
What on earth is malignant neoplasms?
Malignant, is that not cancer? So, yeah, I think it's just cancerous tumour, isn't it?
Basically, yeah.
And heart disease, followed by suicide and then homicide. And you have to go pretty far down. I mean, I think HIV, which I'm assuming he is saying the leading cause of death for gays.
I think that's a big assumption. It doesn't actually say from the little bit that I read.
I mean, my first thought was that's what he meant.
Potentially. He does say men and women.
Yeah.
I thought he was making such a broad, narrow-minded, unsubstantial statement that he was just saying a non-heterosexual lifestyle leads to, because 10 to 20 or 30 years more. You're like, is it 10 or 20 or 30? Because it kind of needs to be somewhere in the middle, I guess.
If I stop now, that means, because I've had a bit of gay sex, but maybe not as much as I could have. Does that mean that I'm going to extend?
That is a lie. You've made your most of all your opportunities, especially from the ages of 30 and 30 and a half. I was there.
You weren't actually there.
No, I'm glad I was not. Oh my God. The sounds that you would make, you know. Robert. Nah, joking.
I just farted. I laughed at. I think what the guy kind of feels to consider is the amount of deaths from young gay people from suicide, from having people in their lives or voices around them like this idiot who is spurting out stuff which has no scientific backing at all. People like this annoy me, and obviously people are entitled to their views, and I would never say they're not. But when you have to lie and spurt hateful stuff like gay sex takes 20, 30, 40 years off your life, maybe it's because I'm feeling very political and feeling off the back of Belfast Pride, this is irking me a bit more than what it should. But I just think America needs to just give itself a shake. This guy clearly has something wrong with him if he's able to spurt this sort of hate and think it's okay.
Absolutely. The fact that there's no sort of self-awareness or the development of the, growing country and it's still okay to say these sort of things. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Have you seen that new Sacha Baron Cohen TV show?
Yes, I've watched one episode. We watched it at the weekend.
Oh my days. It is basically related to what you're doing. And I can't tell whether it's true or not, whether like the people that are taking part know what they're getting themselves in for or not. But like it's basically, he's almost like tricking them into saying things that are really, well, it's difficult because it's not like well, I guess maybe he's tricking some of them because there's like a girl on there who used to be a reality TV show and he's basically force feeding her the words to say that has really bigoted and closed-minded type things. But then there are people that are actually running for political position. Why are you putting that closer to your chest?
Oh no, I've just moved my laptop up so it sits on my knees.
/ belly. Yeah, I don't know if it, but there are people that are actually running for or currently in positions of power within politics. And then I don't know, he's just taking the piss out of them, and it's really, really funny.
I watched one the other day where it had the politician from Alabama. I think he's from. Who have you seen them all? Are you up to date?
No, I think I haven't seen the latest one, but the politician from Alabama and the little scanner.
Yeah. It scans sexual predators and pedophiles, and he's like, "Oh, are you wearing somebody else's jacket?"
Oh my god, are you wearing somebody else's jacket?
Did you?
Oh yeah, so good.
Or the bit whenever they have all the people dressed up for the Mexican party at the place.
Oh my days.
The written line. I was just like, oh, the horrible what?
The one for the quinceañera.
Yeah.
And then they've got their little like panties with the fanny inside.
Yeah, and the gun inside it.
It's honestly, it's so bad.
And then just the random guy hiding in the.
And I think it's the beginning of that episode of the last one before, where they go to that town and he wants to build a mosque.
Oh, it wasn't that episode. It must be the one before.
Okay, it's just the one before, and it's really bad because the people are saying really horrible things about it. And he's like, we've got blacks in this town, and we just about tolerate them. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, it can't be real. It can't be real. But I'll talk about that when I go into my bit a bit.
Anyway, that's all I want to talk about.
Well, it kind of really feeds into what I wanted to talk about today.
Oh, okay.
Because, so this weekend I also went away, like you did. I went to Antwerp in Belgium for... So
when did you get back?
Sunday.
What time?
Why? I was still available to do the podcast, by the way.
Oh, just check. What time were you back?
I got back about 7
in the morning, because we record the podcast usually Sunday at 5. So you wouldn't have been about to record the podcast Sunday at 5.
Not at 5, but I could have done it on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just thought you. Okay. Let's go on to your point then. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Just before I carry on that point, did you not say that you were supposed to come back on Sunday, so we could have done it on Monday, which we agreed upon, and then you decided to stay an extra day at John Henry's house and get hammered?
Well, I think you need to blame John Henry's mum for this then.
I blame her for everything. Anyway, we went away for the weekend to Antwerp, and it was a really nice weekend. It was me, my brother, and basically some of my old school friends there as well. So there's 5 of us, and I was the only gay person there out of the group. There was 5 boys. And it's been a long time since I've sort of, hung out with, like, people that aren't gay. I'll be seriously, I made this conscious effort in my life, and and I want to, like, reconnect with my friends and my families and stuff because, I think it's important to have a well-rounded life. But anyway, I was really happy they invited me to go, so that was really fun. But it really put like some things into perspective in terms of the way that I think about things. And I kind of got some questions, even questions just to ask you, because I guess it would directly affect you in some parts. And that is the subject of racism came up because we went to that pub where they had basically just hate spewed over everything, and big crosses over mosques and any Muslim paraphernalia, and had Nazi signs and stuff. But they were so nice to us when we went inside, the guy behind the bar. He just served us a drink. We honestly, though, as soon as we realised, I think we downed our drinks, which were awful, this horrible drink called Rodenbach, and we left. So we were there for about, 12 minutes in total.
Mm-hmm.
They were joking. They would be like, because I'm a cis white male, I kept on saying that in like a sort of jokey, non-ironic kind of way, So
what was it? Only you and your brother who were black?
Yeah.
And everybody else was white. The other 3 were white.
And there's 5 of us. The other 3 were. And the idea of white privilege came up as well, because they were like, and this is my, my brother as well. He was like, Matt, he was like, my experiences. He said to me, my experiences have. He was speaking on my behalf that the experience that I've had, I would never have experienced any sort of discrimination for me to say that there is white privilege.
Who said this? Your brother said this to you?
Yeah. And I was like, because then it kind of came up about like America and the UK. And I was like, I do believe that America is a lot different to the UK from my own experiences, especially because we grew up in London. I'll give him that. I thought it was incorrect to say that my experiences, one, that he would know my experiences or the things that happened to me, but that I wouldn't have had any discrimination, potentially not based on my color, but maybe for, being gay and stuff.
Mm.
Because I feel like I get treated differently for being a gay black person than a gay white one. Does anyone ever? How do you feel about this idea about white privilege in general?
Well, I know something it's something we've talked about before. Not here, I don't think, on this podcast. But
Does it offend you
what the people talk about white privilege?
if someone were to say that there's white privilege? Because they kind of felt a bit offended, being like, just because I'm a white male doesn't mean that I have privilege.
It doesn't offend me, and I don't know. I've sort of at the start, I must say, like if you had asked me 2 years ago, 1 year ago, I probably would have said, yeah, there's no such thing. Like I think it's just something you would probably say to justify all the reasons why you feel like you're a victim. Because then I could sort of said, what about straight privilege? And I kind of compared it to that, and I said, well, even something that a straight person could say, you don't know what it's like to be gay. I don't know what it's like to be a person of color. I have to ask, is person of color offensive or not? Am I allowed to say a person of color?
I think that's the most up-to-date or appropriate way of saying it, because it's not enough just to say, because then it's like, I say I'm black. I think I said this before, but I'm not black. Like I'm not, I'm mixed race. I'm mixed. And also, people that are just not white. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, a PIC, a person of color, is the most appropriate and up-to-date way of saying it.
To keep it back on track, I flipped it around, and I think it was around about the same time I watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy. This black family, it was Bailey and her new husband would sit down. Bailey's son.
Hi.
What?
You said new husband. We're not having this conversation now. Nope, that is not fair. You cannot. Don't ruin one of my favorite shows for me.
Well, listen, you're literally getting into it 14 years later than when it was actually originally aired. So I'm sorry that you're now experiencing spoilers from a show that's 14 years old, but you need to get beyond that. When I told you about 8 years ago, watch this show, you shouldn't have waited another 8 years. So
I didn't know you 8 years ago, first of all. And
yes, you did.
You never told me that anyway. Anyway, besides that fact.
Anyway,
don't ruin Grey's Anatomy for me, please.
Bailey sat down and told her son about...
He's white, isn't he?
Am I allowed to say?
No.
Right. Well, then he's whatever. Anyway, so and I was questioning, like, is that actually something you do? Would you would the parents of I need to say this without spoiling the show.
Bloody say the story, okay? It's one plot line in the 17,000 of them.
No.
You stupid person.
Basically, the story in the show happens. It's a single episode story where this kid was running late from somewhere and his mom had left, so he started climbing in his own house's window to get into the house, and he's black and the police shot him. And then it all started, it was this big episode, and then they were basically sat down this character's kid and said, the world will treat you different because of the color of your skin. And I was like thinking, oh, come on.
I don't think it would, I don't know a situation where it might happen here. I know that my mum never ever said that to me about people treat you differently, this, that, and the other. But you do see it a lot now on TV, especially because I think a lot of people are trying to send that message. But it does come from a lot of American shows because of obviously all of the black people being shot for, or, just being like, I don't know, the police called on them for being in Starbucks, or, I saw some about going into a residential pool that was for residents, and they were residents.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah. But so I don't want to say like it's the same here, but I was struggling with the idea that, like, obviously, if you're, some people saying that now the white straight males are losing out, now the world's against them. And the conversations we were having, although, I don't want to push my agenda too much, and they were asking my opinions actually on a lot of things, and mine was so different to all four of theirs, in fact. My brother as well included, because, he's not white, but I just found it really strange. I found it very, I don't want to say enlightening, because it really troubled me that if you're not aware of something and you say it doesn't exist or it isn't there, how do you become aware? And also, if a group of people don't see it, Is there a point where it becomes too far? Not to say that it's gone too far, especially in the UK. I think a lot of the time you might sort of say in America this and in other places that, although it is a worldwide issue and not a UK one or a London issue, you know, we all do behave quite differently, or different things happen, and some places are more extreme. But I was just really struggling with the idea that, like, 'cause I couldn't explain, like, that people are treated differently without them having to do anything. White privilege being one of them, being straight is another. I think in certain situations, being a person of color or being black in particular is another way that you might be treated differently, positively or negatively. And
male versus female.
male, oh my days! I don't even know why I didn't say it. That's ridiculous. I think privilege does exist, not necessarily just white privilege, but also, you know, just privilege in general for where you grow up and what you do. And I do think it does. You're given certain, not on purpose, but you're either treated or not treated a certain way. And I think if you reject it, you're just being naive. Not to say that you have had all the benefits, but to then say, okay, let me look into it with an open mind and say, maybe that if it's being said enough, maybe it does exist. That I wish that, I think some situations in the America are like that. We're just choosing to completely reject something that's different or unknown to us, as opposed to say, okay, well, maybe it's a part of our lives and it's something that we need to accept.
Yeah, but do you not worry about it going to, I think you probably hinted it earlier on, but you're going so far the other way where it has a negative effect on the opposite. So take the male-female, rightly so, women needed more of a voice, more of a representation, but it's going so, I'm not saying it's going so far, or I'm not saying it's going too far, but I'm saying there's a risk that then all men get treated negatively as a side effect of the women being treated positively.
Are you asking, do I think that can happen or is happening?
I think it could happen.
Have you read the book Power?
Never.
Have you heard of it?
Never.
So it's this really great book. I really enjoyed it. And it's about that situation where basically women suddenly become more powerful than men.
Mm-hmm.
The way that happens, shall I say? Well, they have an ability. They have an ability that suddenly makes them quite literally stronger and more powerful than men.
Is it fiction or not?
And eventually, it's non-fiction. If you read the book, it's fiction, pardon me, not non-fiction. Why am I saying that? It's not real, it's fiction, because when you hear about the power, it would never be a thing. Because it's got to do with evolution. And then they become more powerful. And then the way that they behave, because they're now in charge, as the person who wrote the book, which I can't remember now because I haven't got the book just here, she was like, she owned all the behaviors and the actions. She researched and it was documented that these are things that where the men had treated women as they gain more power. And so it did flip to the other side. So I guess there is that fear or the possibility that that's what happens. Although this book, I think the intention was to say, because these things seemed barbaric in the book. They seemed barbaric. They seemed horrible. There was some horror, and there's quite descriptive in a lot of them, how the men are treated in this book. This is exactly how women have been treated since the beginning of the time, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I also want to say that I think there's a, in fact, we'll save it for another podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think that at this point, I still think there is privilege. I'm not going to put white privilege into it because I think that is a form of it. And it's not just enough about what I was reading up about it. I mean, it's not about the fact that you get a job and someone doesn't. And even this one thing, this woman called Gina Crossley Corrigan wrote, explaining white privilege to a broke white person. That's what the article is called. She said that she was initially hostile to the idea that she had white privilege, initially believing my white skin didn't do shit to prevent me from experiencing poverty. Until she read a book by Peggy McIntosh, which is called Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack, which, as I was reading up about it, it seems to be... So white privilege has been around since the 40s. But it's always been studied in universities, and it's only now coming to light with certain sort of movements like Black Lives Matter and stuff. So it's actually always been around, and academics have always accepted white privilege as a way of saying it without it.
We're just more woke to it now, I guess.
Well, we're not woke enough, I guess. And I wanted, I'm not woke, I guess, or I don't know. I think it is that realization that actually something could exist, not necessarily understanding why. Let me just finish this. So it said the concept of intersectionality recognizes that people can be privileged in some ways and definitely not privileged in others, which I think is important because white privilege doesn't mean you have all of the privileges. It just that means in some situations, I guess, that you do have a privilege over others, like, I don't know, parenting or dealing with the police and things like that, I guess. But how do you become woke? How do you become, I don't know. The conversation that we were having, it was interesting to me that people still felt that the way that they did, and not to say that they're like saying anything that's particularly wrong. I was just interested that the people that being with like other gay men and stuff, and sort of a wider range of people, I felt like I tried to understand or see if there is in fact some sort of privilege, and I accept that people are treated very differently. But if you, I don't know, potentially stay within a very similar group, a similar and like-minded group that might lack diversity, like a group of white straight males, you have that protection, and you don't necessarily need to feel like you need to be woke in some way.
Yeah, I think, I think what just popped into my head there is a way to. I use the word woke ironically because I actually hate using the word, but
love get woke. The problem is the show Dear White People on Netflix kind of ruined it, because that was a bit of an extreme of like, dear white people, this is how black people be, and I was like, oh dear. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's really black power properly.
I didn't want you guys forcing your agenda on me, if I'm honest.
Exactly. And that's why I haven't watched it. When I think that anyone that signs up to Netflix now has to watch it before they get access to anything else.
Oh, probably. You guys have probably forced that into some contract somewhere.
See, these are the kind of things that I was saying over the weekend, and I did find them funny, I must say, but I'm like, shit.
What?
Like you forced it upon us, and maybe, we don't need it to have it there all the time. And I was
Listen, if we live in a world where people feel victimized because they're being made aware of something that hasn't affected them, affects somebody else, like racism and homophobia, then they need to look at their own lives and say, why am I not more aware about this?
Well, you can't just say that, because if you've known something and you've grown up in that, no, that's ridiculous.
How is it ridiculous?
If you haven't been in a situation where this has happened to you, then how would you? This is what you know.
Because you should be aware enough to read the news and know that this is happening. And
I don't read the news.
Well, you know what's happening.
But I don't read the news.
Well, you read the news as one example. I mean, you can't, like, when something goes viral, like the police shooting down black people in America, you can't avoid that. It's on every social media outlet, whether it be social networks, TV, the radio, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. So unless you live in a cave, you should be more aware. I read something interesting where people would say, for example, the older generation and how they deal with homophobia. It's like, well, it's their generation. They don't know any better. It's like, yes, they do. They do know better. They don't live in a cave. They have the access to the same media that I have. It's their force of habit that causes them to be hateful and homophobic and racist and whatever else. People need to be more in tune with what's happening, not just around them, but in the world, to be able to understand, first of all, that they may have white privilege, or they may have straight privilege, or female privilege, or it's just...
But then it's okay, so fine, right, you say that, right? And then instead of the response being, well, okay, now it's everywhere. Now the flag is everywhere. Now black people being shot in America is everywhere. And instead of it being, you must be aware because it happens. Have you ever heard someone say, well, why does it need to be forced down my throat? I don't see it happening everywhere. It seems to be everywhere, and I don't think that it's right. Because I've heard that you almost get defensive about certain things, being like, well, why does it need to be everywhere? Why does it need to be everywhere? I don't need to look at this all the time. And then it's almost like, and for me, I feel like their defensiveness is coming from a place where someone like, well, now I can't get the jobs I wanted to before, where it's more because you were able to get those jobs. But now the idea is that we're hoping for a more even playing field. And the privilege that you had, things might be harder for you if you're a white male, not because now everyone's getting steps over you, but now you have to fight in an equal battlefield for the same outcome, for the same opportunities. And I think getting defensive over some of these situations is because the fear that their lives won't be the same, which is potentially true. But I think realizing that the way their life was before, or our lives were before, because I would still say that being from London and being a male allows me a lot of privileges. Now my life has changed because now I have to fight in the equal playing field for opportunities, because I think it's all about opportunities. And that's where I really struggle, because getting so defensive about it, well, just people aren't getting more rights than you. Gay people aren't getting more rights than you. Trans people are definitely not getting more rights than you. Women aren't getting the same rights. So I found it really difficult. But I also didn't want to shoot anyone down, because I don't think I've never dealt with sort of, especially sort of arguments about this in that way where I want to be as open or try and be as open, but I really struggled to understand.
Well, I think you
Completely accept.
explained it really well there. It's like black people aren't getting any more rights because they're color of their skin. All they're asking for is the same as white people. Gay people are asking for the same as straight people. It's just, and it's like you say, it's probably the fear of the fact that these people know they're going to be missing out on something and there's not going to be enough in it. Or maybe they don't even know, but it's sort of like a sixth sense that they kind of indirectly have an irk about. But and to answer your point, the people who, yes, there are people out there who say, why does it have to be everywhere? And why is it so in my face? It's like, because it matters, because people are out there dying and people like you are so blind to it. All you see is the fact that another rainbow flag's up and you have issue with that. Meanwhile, people are out there getting attacked because they hold hands with their same-sex partner. Until we live in a world where you want to hold your boyfriend's hand as you walk down the street, until we live in that world where that's totally safe and you can feel comfortable doing that, then we need a rainbow flag in every fucking corner of the world.
I don't know. I think I'm getting, it's really difficult for me because I want my friends and my family and stuff to sort of kind of, obviously I want them to see the way that I see, but I also think it's important for me to understand their points of view. And I think potentially I'm doing a similar thing where I'm struggling to understand how in this day and age, for example, you might feel that way. But then my experiences are different. I hang around with different people, and I feel like I've felt some sort of, I don't want to say out and out discrimination from being from London. I've never, but I think being gay and black is a thing because I am one and things have happened. And so I feel like that was my little tiny bit of difference. And imagine those that have big differences to what's normal. And I'm using quotation marks.
Yeah, he is. I can vouch for that. But you have to.
I should have said that.
You have to remember that nobody else in that group of five except you know what it's like to be a gay black man. I don't know what it's like to be a gay black man. I mean, I'm sort of half black because two of my best friends are black, and I'm the Beyonce of the group. So
she is the lightest one. In all fairness, she's basically white.
So anyway, I have no idea what it's like to be a black man. So I don't know what your experiences are. Like you don't know.
And I don't know what other people's experiences are. Yeah. But what I do want to try and recognize is the privilege that I do have. So as a gay black man, I do have privilege because I will be afforded opportunities over trans people for sure. I don't think the opportunities would be the same. If I'm honest, I think that I do have a sort of a certain level of privilege, and I think it's important to be aware before you can make the sort of change or anything, or add some sort of value to any change. But you have to kind of want that change, and that's what I was struggling with. Is why would you want to change? Why would you want to change your life to benefit someone else's unless it directly affects you? Because you're already in a privileged position, and that's bad. I'm not saying that's good. I'm saying that's bad.
Yeah, but that's the decent thing to do.
It's the human it's the human aspects of it, really. It's a human race issue, and I think I'm sort of coming to the realization sort of now that it's important because I think I would have been quite selfish, and I think I am quite selfish. If things don't affect me directly, I might be a bit close-minded to wanting to help out. I think once I said about do I have to stand up for black issues if I don't deal with them on a daily basis? Is it my right? Because I think some people do see it that way, and then now I'm starting to think, well, it should be my issue because it's for those that have a platform, a position, a privilege to stand up for those that don't have the same opportunity. Yeah,
totally. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was sort of thinking like, how come I want to say I was a bit annoyed, and you know what I get annoyed about the smallest things for no reason, and you have to sort of backtalk me. But I was a little bit annoyed that some of my straight friends don't support Pride more than they do. They'll like a picture of me at Pride, but would they give up their time to come down and show their support at an event? Probably not. I know it's a lot to ask because people have their own lives going on, and it probably means more to me because it directly affects my life. But I think it's little things like that where if you see somebody being treated differently because of the color of their skin or their sexuality, you shouldn't ignore it. You should take the opportunity to defend that person, because they might not be totally comfortable doing it themselves. And you don't have to do it. You can live your own life. But to me, this is the decision point where people need to get to. They need to stop hiding behind their keyboard and being social justice warriors that way and get out and be real life heroes in everyday things that matter, like Pride Parade. Like I was, like one of the things, John, his mum came to the Pride Parade this year. His brother did as well. I think it was their first Pride Parade. And I think John's mum had cried throughout the day because she was just overcome with happiness that this event was going on that celebrated people just being who they are and loving who they want to love. And she spent the next few hours talking about it, like how happy she was that this was happening, how happy she was that we were part of it, and how happy she was that she got to be there and celebrate this lovely time in the world where people are changing. And, you know, this is like comes back to what I was saying earlier. I don't know what age John's mom is, but the older generation aren't justified in their backwards views because there is the ability of that sort of forward thinking. Would John's mom feel like that if she didn't have a gay son? I don't know, but no doubt she has friends who don't have gay sons, and I'm sure she'll tell them about what a great time she had. I think that's the sort of things that matter. Is all we were trying to achieve at Pride, and every Pride is equality. We're not asking for more. We're not asking for special rights. We just, like for Belfast, we want equal marriage. We want to be able to get married here in Northern Ireland, and the same as any other straight person. And to me, it would mean a lot more to me if my straight friends showed their support. I mean, there's loads of gay people that don't come to Pride either, which is their own choice. But again, they should, because, and the thing that annoys me the most is, do you have gay white guys who, in my experience, have now hung up their Pride boots to say, come on, we can adopt, we've got marriage, we've got everything we need. It's like, yeah, you do. But there's others out there who don't. So put your Pride boots back on and get marching again, bitch, because you don't stop until we all have the same. Oh, I'm nearly cried.
No, I heard.
Oh,
I started to a little bit because
I
I wasn't going to sort of mention about like my mum. I know that she's quite private, and I know that I run my mouth very freely, but I will say this because it's hard for me not to run my mouth about all of my experiences. I'm quite an open book when it comes to these things. But we had basically that kind of conversation this week, and it was just opened up my eyes about, and I thought it was incorrect. My brother said about the experiences that I had are not different to his, because I definitely had a different experience in my own household that was different to his and everyone else's. And my mum had basically said that for a long time she's accepted and understood, and we had the most open and honest conversation, and I told her about how I'd felt when I was younger and stuff. And it's not too late for people to sort of change the way that they view things when it comes to just allowing people to be who they want to be and have the same opportunities as everyone else. And that's basically, you know, and yeah, that sort of strung a bit of a nerve when you said that about that, because, you know, I sort of had a similar, I'd say, like to think some sort of revelation with in my own personal family situation. And I think you're right. You know, I think that once you suddenly get the opportunity, you personally might get the opportunity that that other people might have, but not everyone does, then you'll choose to continue. And I understand it. I think, especially you, because we spoke about this, your life, you know, we all think our life is so hard. I think, you know, I've had a terrible week at work, I might say. You know, I'm complaining I don't have enough things to do, but what I am doing is being paid to work, not do much, and I'm still able to go on holiday. All of these sorts of things, you know, all of these privileges that I get to have. And yeah, I think that I understand when it's all about perspective, isn't it? You know, fair enough, you might be going through a hard time, but, you know, you're still able to live, and it's trying to find that balance. But it'll take a long time, I guess, for people to change. It was just very hard. No, I don't want to say hard. It was just very interesting. And I thought it was quite difficult that those that were close to me still had such a different view to what I did. Anyways, it's an interesting ending, isn't it?
Yeah, I really liked this recording. I got really into it.
There's lots to think about.
Yeah. Which I hope the guys who listen to this and the girls who listen to this think about it. And I think one thing I do more, and it's happened, you know, ever since do you know what? It happened ever since I watched the episode of Grey's Anatomy. I check myself. I'm not saying anything. I'm checking myself more. I check what I'm saying more as a white person when it comes to. Oh, interesting enough here, we had this conversation at work, but it doesn't matter because we talked about it before. But I check myself more. That's what I'm saying. And I think it's important that other people out there check themselves as well. And I think it's important that other people out there share this podcast with their friends to spread the message. And I think it's important out there that people follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter and subscribe. But I think it's important that they hashtag HonestToPod.
I think you successfully cheapened our entire conversation by adding a plug at the end. But I do want to give a shout out, actually.
Oh,
after you said that, which is, so you said people should share it. Remember, we said we wanted our friends and followers to share on their own personal social media.
Yes, and we hope people do.
And this happened a couple of weeks ago, but Michael Michael Duffel, or Dufel as he likes to say when he wants to be posh, shared on all of his social media, our podcast and tweets and stuff. So I just want to say thank you very much for the support. It's been incredibly supportive over the past couple of since the beginning, and always comments about the episodes and has an opinion about them, which I think is sweet.
Yeah.
So
you mean Michael Duflay?
Michael Duflay, Michael Dufel, Michael Duffel. Yeah, they're all the same person.
He's so sneaky.
It's Michael Duffel, but he tries to say Dufel. And I'm like, you're not posh.
It's like that. You might be too young. Do you ever watch Keeping Up Appearances?
No idea.
Oh, okay. Her name's Bucket, but she used to call herself Bouquet.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing. So yeah. Anyway, so that was my shout out.
Thanks very much, Michael. Thanks for the love.
I thought you said you had something.
Well, I am meeting Colin.
You are not.
Yeah, Colin and I are meeting for coffee on Friday.
Oh my God. It's going to be like Honest to Pod's first wedding. Make sure that you either Skype a video or at least let me know when it's happening because I'd like to say hello. Okay. Please.
It's happening Friday at 9:30, I think, the time we decided. So you might be at work.
I'll be at work, but I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm sure you can still.
Oh, we can video call you. I don't know if can we record it?
Or just take a picture. It's not the end of the world. I'd just like to say thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening.
We're handing out dates to people.
I suppose I may as well say in this as I finish off that.
No, you can't end with that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No. Because that end the conversation, and I'd like to go to bed.
Okay, that's in the conversation. Okay,
that will go on.
Oh my God, this is such a cliffhanger for next week.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. What was you going to say?
Good night.
Good night. Right. Good night, Matt. Because it is really late now.
It is really late, but you know, it's actually I'm really glad how it turned out. So I hope it sounds really good as well, and people enjoy it.
Yeah. Me too. And they will. I mean, if they don't, they're just either homophobic or racist. So
they probably are.
Yeah.
I've met so many of these people.
Well, that's what you get for hanging out in white supremacist clubs.
I was in shock. I'm not even going to go on into it again. Honestly, I was like, guys, I think we need to go. Then they were like, do you think they spiked our drinks? I genuinely thought they could have spiked our drinks because they were so nice. Yeah. I was surprised they were nice. Only, not that I was there, but anyway, let's end the conversation because I was going to go to sleep. All right. All right. Well, good night, everyone. Good night. Good night, everyone. Sleep well. I will. I hope you do, Ashley. Don't let the bed bugs bite. They won't. They'll just tickle me softly in bed. But they're all fucking dead from my sweat. Do you want me to sing you a lullaby? Good night, Ashley. Bye.